So my name's Ryan Carter. I'm an additive manufacturing engineer at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab. And one critical item I want to talk to everyone today about is overcoming the design kind of dilemma. Right now, we're here to talk about the great new capabilities that are coming out with designing organic structures, designing topology optimized structures. But at the end of the day, the question is, how do we actually implement this into a deployed application or more of an operational application? So that's what I'm here to talk about today. Clicker doesn't work. Oh, it is delayed. All right. So who's APL and what do we do and why am I here to talk about this? So APL is a research division of the Johns Hopkins University, and we're a university-affiliated research center, or UARC. Our sponsors are people like the DoD, NASA, intelligence community, Department of the Navy. And the purpose of APL is to contribute to the critical challenges that face the nation. And so we like to say that we create defining innovations that ensure the nation's preeminence in the 21st century. And we collaborate with industry, government, and academia in areas of national importance. So I talked about who APL is, and I've talked about why we want to take a look at this design dilemma. So APL kind of has a mission-oriented end-to-end development, kind of a systems approach. So we start at critical needs, we look at the capability assessment, and we look at concept exploration. And then we take this from concept exploration to solution validation, and then we'll skip a step, but step 6 is deployment. So the goal here is to take technology, transfer it, and then deploy it to operations and ensure success, and then make modifications if needed. And one critical area that's kind of being looked at for additive manufacturing right now is using additive and design for additive in spacecraft. So here is a long list of some spacecraft that APL has had a hand in, starting from Messenger in 1996 to things like DART, or the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, that launched in 2021 and successfully moved an asteroid, I believe a couple months ago. But why am I showing you this long list of spacecraft? Well, to talk about things like Dragonfly, which will be launching in 2027, but right now the design work is going on as we speak. And so essentially, the design tools of today are going to be working for the spacecraft of tomorrow and tackling the challenges of tomorrow. So the goal of my presentation is to talk about these design challenges and talk about how we can potentially make changes and improvements to then put this into spacecraft or different deployed applications. And so what I have on my screen are some design constraints. This is not new or novel, right? I'm talking about precision being a function of all manufacturing steps. And there's been a bunch of great people talking already today who've talked about their challenges of manufacturing their component and ensuring it actually survives. Again, this is not new or novel, but it's just putting these up on the screen so then we can talk about it. Now, I'm sure many people have run into these issues, but design constraint 1, matching the design characteristics like feature size and file resolution to the precision of the manufacturing process. Again, not new or novel, not crazy, not groundbreaking research, but something critical in the whole design process. And then design constraint 2, the design characteristics you choose kind of impact your computational tools and your empirical validation that you can actually use. And then design constraint 3, you have to inspect it, ensure your component will survive, and what you actually designed is what you built. So inspection is a critical aspect of this. But to work through an example, I'm going to talk about something on the Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, or JUICE. This is a European Space Agency mission where APL was primarily responsible for the particle environment package. And one part in particular that I want to point out, we'll see if the laser pointer works here, is the collimator right here. This is an array of close-packed hexagonal holes to control the trajectory into the spectrometer. Right, this is a very complex part. As you can see here, it's about an inch tall. Overall, you have 0.5 millimeter kind of hexagon height, and wall thickness is 160 microns. And so this is a design challenge and a manufacturing challenge. So it's very thin walls, and if you work in the pattern bed fusion world, you're aware that the laser beam diameter is going to impact your ability to produce this component. And it will impact things like the light all flowing to a central point. That's the whole purpose of this part, is to flow everything to a central point and collimate, hence collimator. But the issues, going back to matching design characteristics, are things like the thin wall. You can see there that we have multiple different colors. So you have yellow for things like your infill, contour pass, whatever you want to call it. You have the black lines for single line passes. You have border passes, which may be red or orange, what have you. But in this part, you have multiple different laser passes, and it impacted our design. When we went to print this, you have semi-sintered powder that blocked all the holes and ended up not being usable. So we had to go back to the beginning and look at design constraint 1, modify our part, modify the design, and modify our scan path to be able to produce these single line traces here in black. So again, design constraints impact your ability to produce this hardware. And the next issue here is the testing to validate. So in spacecraft especially, you can't send a repair guy to go and fix it, right? There's no way we can do that currently. Maybe that's Elon's next challenge, but you can't do that currently. So we have to ensure that we can actually survive. So in this case, we're just doing some vibration testing where we had to actually increase the testing that we were doing to show that it wouldn't break. Especially in this thin walls here, we needed to ensure there's no cracking, no pores would open up, what have you. But we had to actually increase the duration by 2 times, essentially because we had no computational tools to validate performance before we even went to the design process. So we can see this is starting to be full circle, that at the beginning with your design and what you choose to design in software-wise or just geometry-wise impacts your ability to validate. And if you can do computational modeling, or you have to stick with maybe a more expensive build and then test. And the last aspect of this is going to be your inspection. So just because you can design it doesn't mean you can make it. And just because you can make it doesn't mean you actually built what you intended. So to build trust within the community, especially in the design for additive community, when you're trying to, let's say, sell a product, you need to show them that what they're going to get is what you intended to make. And what we found during this whole process of building this collimator is that at the time, the software tools were not available to be able to predict if the holes were kind of aligning in the way that we wished, right, all to a central point. And also, we couldn't really predict if particles were blocking holes. So if we didn't have the capability to inspect, then we can't show NASA that we're capable of designing, building, and essentially having this part survive. So we had to work with the software company at the time to then add in these features to be able to inspect this component. So again, it's kind of a full circle moment that if you can't inspect it, you can't show your customer or build trust that we can actually do this. So to really take this to the next step or take design for additive manufacturing to the next step or deploy this, we need to have all these important design constraints. And so in conclusion, these are, again, our 3 major design constraints here. And we need to match our design characteristics to our process, which is going to be different things for additive manufacturing, maybe multi-jet fusion. We have a little bit more design freedom. We have powder bed fusion, or what have you. Then you have to start looking at your computational tools where you may be limited. And then you also have to think about in the beginning what kind of geometries and processes you're going to be using so you can actually inspect it. And these are some major challenges that we've seen when trying to actually deploy a component or put it in a spacecraft, and it prevents the overall process. And one thing we kind of wanted to point out, and actually the examples here, is collaboration amongst different companies with different areas of expertise. So having people like Topology and EOS work together to come up with ways of exporting a file out of their software package allows new capabilities that we didn't previously have. And then the 3MEF Consortium is also working on developing new file formats to take more data from software packages and get it out to the machine. So it's kind of demonstrating that collaboration and communication amongst companies in different areas of expertise is critical to really push DfAM to the next level. And that's my talk.